Corbyn, now the General Secretary, investigating with due process cases of alleged anti-Semitism. I do not want to see any more allegations being treated as truth and being used to criticise the Labour Party. The Labour Party has got some anti-Semitism, all parties have. My concern is much more at the moment about the great rise of anti-Semitism on the far right in Europe, and I think we ought to be looking at that. And actually, the Conservative Party, whom I don't want to malign, but they have got links with some of the right-wing parties in Europe, and I'm very concerned about that. So, going back to what I want done, I want a serious consideration of anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, and I think John Lansman was right, although I don't, in my view, think it's anything odd that he said that Mr. Corbyn needs education as well. As a Jew, I am very aware what anti-Semitism is, and I sometimes find that other people don't fully understand it.
Do you think Mr. Corbyn fully understands it?
I think Mr. Corbyn actually is one of the members of the Labour Party who does understand it.
Why has your party failed to expel anybody for anti-Semitic comments?
As far as I know, there have been people expelled. So far, the cases that I know about have not been based on actual evidence. You may know of Professor Moshe Makova, Professor of Mathematics, Israeli Jew living in London, was suspended with sort of vague allegations of anti-Semitism. There was absolutely no evidence against him. He's a Jew. It's possible, and there might be a case with evidence suggesting that a Jew was guilty of anti-Semitism.
Well, do you think, sorry to interrupt, but Ken Livingstone has been suspended now for 2 years for alleged anti-Semitic remarks. Do you think he should be expelled?
As a matter of fact, I think he is a very good example of somebody who needs due process. I don't think he's anti-Semitic. I think some of the things he said...
Do you think his comments were about Hitler being
I don't think they were anti-Semitic, no. I think they were offensive. But the fact that I have a different view than maybe you or someone else just suggests that you have to have proper evidence. And in the case of Ken Livingstone, that is trial by the media and trial by the critics of Mr. Corbyn.
Well, the party could have sorted this out years ago. It's 2 years it's been going on.
He was given another suspension for a year. I think there hasn't been much competency around. That's why I'm very pleased as the new General Secretary. I think the party was hauled into this very fast. The Chakrabarti report is absolutely excellent, but it hasn't been implemented. And I think that has been a failure of the administration, but not of Mr. Corbyn. He is not the boss of the General Secretary. It's the NEC.
No, but it comes from the top. The culture comes from the top.
The culture is fine.
If it was important to him, he would have made sure, surely, the recommendations were implemented.
Well, as a matter of fact, I've been talking about this before today. The General Secretary of the Labour Party is answerable to the NEC. If Mr. Corbyn had said, I want the General Secretary to be a different person or to do this, the criticism of him would be this one that's so often made of him. He's being dictatorial. The left is ruling the party. OK, no problem.
If you appoint someone like Shami Chakrabarti to do a report into anti-Semitism, which he did, and then afterwards was given a peership, it's important to you. It's important to you.
It was very important. So it is why he asked the NEC, as far as I know, I don't speak to him and the NEC every day, to ask Mr. Ian McNicol to implement the Chakrabarti report. It hasn't been implemented, and I was just trying to explain to you, if I may, that no other party has had a Chakrabarti report. No other party has an internal administration trying to deal with an issue like anti-Semitism.
And they have made... it's not as bad in other parties.
There's no evidence. All the evidence at the moment, and there's been an evidence very recently, which was sponsored by a Jewish organisation, perhaps expecting different results. They found that most of the anti-Semitism on the far right, there was very little on the far left, and it's mainly about Israel.
But it was never an issue for Labour until...
Oh, it was.
Well, it wasn't under Ed Miliband.
There was anti-Semitism against Ed Miliband, in my view, from people outside the Labour Party. This is an issue.
There was no atmosphere within the party, which meant that
as far as I know, and there's no evidence, I'm asking for evidence that things have got worse in the Labour Party. I've been in the Labour Party 50 years. I've never experienced anti-Semitism. I haven't in the last 2 years either.
You've never experienced anti-Semitism?
Never, ever.
From within or without? From
within the Labour Party. I have outside, but never within the Labour Party. And that is the view. I'm chair of the Jewish Voice for Labour. We have to be full members, Jewish and members of the Labour Party. No other organisation speaks for Jewish members of the Labour Party. The Board of Deputy and Jewish Leadership Council do not speak for us, are nothing to do with the Labour Party, are called mainstream organisations. What does mainstream mean? We are also a Jewish organisation, called a fringe, some sort of left crazy fringe. Anyway, among our colleagues, I don't think any of the people that I know have ever experienced anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. Now, people are experiencing, it seems to me, and this is what my kids told me a long time ago, this is a social media problem more than anything else. So let me get back to where anti-Semitism does seem to be occurring.
Doesn't make it any less searing if
somebody
receives...
Of course it doesn't.
And you're right to say that some people have been expelled. That was my error. I apologise.
Sorry, you're questioning my seriousness when I'm talking about let's look at the facts. the facts are, in my experience, I've never met anti-Semitism. I don't do social media. And I keep away from social media for good reason, because I might fall into a trap of reposting something. I so see people do. On social media, there has been some disgusting things said to Labour MPs, absolutely disgusting, and I gather to Conservative MPs too, although we're not hearing about that, and that's equally disgusting. The link between those nasty bits, blogs, posts, whatever, to Labour Party members is not established. If it is established, of course, that would be one of the first cases that Jenny Formby should look at. So that's why I'm saying it's a trial of social media. People haven't learned how to use it. And I want to say one other word about Israel. I am very concerned about Israel's policy, and I'm Jewish, and I'm allowed to say that. It's become increasingly hard for non-Jews to know how to talk about it. And the actual result of this latest few weeks, a few months, years since Corbyn came in, is that conversation about Israel and Palestine and Palestinian rights in the Labour Party has more or less ceased. People are so nervous now of saying the wrong thing. I think that's another serious crisis that we should be talking about.
Thank you very much. We'll see what happens with the meeting later. Thank you very much for coming on the programme. Jenny Manson. Jenny... Oh, do stay there, Jenny, just for a moment. It's fine. I know you've got to go, but thank you so much. Co-chair of Jewish Voice for Labour. That's a campaign group which supports Jeremy Corbyn.